Hey, everybody. Hello and welcome. I'm Leland, and this is the Music That Matters podcast, where we interview musicians, content creators, and lovers of all things music on the meaning behind music, the process and inspiration behind song creation, its role in our lives and on our culture, and other wild digressions and introspections into the way that meaningful music and media is made and shapes our culture. Our first guest is an absolute joy and one of the hottest new musicians we've been lucky enough to have in our musical lives. As a producer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist, her music has reached over 10 million people. In the before times, she performed at legendary venues like the Gramercy Theatre, Hammerstein Ballroom, and on the grounds of Woodstock, performing with artists such as the Internet and Zach Matari, and even opening for artists such as Aaron Carter. She's so delightfully kind, and her musical aptitude is incredible. She explores the depths of new jack swing and contemporary R&B through hilarious lyricism on the frustrations and weird nuances of modern life. She also brings such a hilarious, modern, and playful spin to her musicianship by producing near constant bite-sized music. In this podcast, we speak about a lot of things: her musical background and upbringing, how she got her big break upon being noticed by Erikah Badu, her songwriting process, how she goes about making songs, and the meaning behind each of the songs in her newest mixtape, the Tima Tape. With that, we're ready to get started. When I say I was excited to speak with Tima, that's an understatement. Tima is such a presence. I hope you enjoy her bubbliness, wit, and spirit as much as we did. Without further ado, here's Tima. I just love to start with, so I saw on Instagram some of the videos of you as a baby, like singing into the mirror. But when did your relationship with music really begin?
Yeah, it started at 5. So my mom put me in lessons. So I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my mom. And I don't think my mom always liked music, but I don't think she thought it was gonna go anywhere. She just wanted me to have something to do on the weekends. So I was like, okay, you go to do piano lessons. And then eventually, I think around 12, my piano teacher, she had to like go back to her country to take care of her mom. So I went like 3 years without lessons. And around that time I got in trouble. I got like a C in like a class, and my dad's like, no more television. So the way I would entertain myself is I would take my mom's like R&B CDs and I would try to transpose them on the piano. And like that was like fun to figure that out. So that kind of like built my R&B ear. And then my teacher came back and that got my theory up, and then I'm right here.
Yeah, so so what kind of albums were you listening to? What was your mom into? Because this has come up before with other artists where, and same for me, like my mom loved Destiny's Child. And so I was like, I grew up listening to that CD and stuff. But what albums are you listening to?
Yeah, my mom was definitely deep into R&B, especially like 80s and 90s R&B. We had a radio and like only one station worked, and it was the R&B station. So that's all I could listen to. And my dad really, really liked jazz and salsa. And like, the thing about it is I used to hate it because he used to blast it. And I'm like, oh my God, like I can't. But now, like I appreciate it because now that's what my ears are tuned to. Like that's all I hear. So definitely a lot of old school R&B.
So is that how you sort of found your sound? Because you have a very retro-y, but it's very like authentic and distinct R&B sound. Is that how you found that sound?
100%. Like I was so, like definitely. I remember there was a period of time where I couldn't go to sleep without like having the radio on, and the station that like I listened to, like at night it was always the 90s R&B. So literally like I was like, give me any 90s R&B song, I could tell you what it is, because like for years that's all I listened to at night. So it like built up my like Rolodex. So now that was music for me. That was like the new music for me. So like when I'm writing stuff, like my progressions and my sounds always kind of go to that.
Makes sense. So you were literally like sleeping and breathing music. It was everything for you.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Honestly.
So what's your songwriting process like? Because you have such an authentic approach to your songs. I love the way you just kind of break down everyday things, it seems like. But what's your process for writing a song?
Yeah, definitely. Well, for my jingles, I definitely have to think of the punchline first. because then like, you know, it'll make sense. And sometimes I'll think of the scenario and I'll be like, okay, like having cold soup in like a hot bowl or whatever. And I'm like, okay. And then the next stage is me kind of figuring out the rhythmic pacing of it, because I've learned that what you're saying could be really good, the lyrics could be really good, but if it doesn't hit at the right time, if the punchline isn't like, you know, the punchline of the rhythm doesn't come together, then it just won't, it'll go over everybody's head. So for me, it's without a melody, I'll just be like do 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 do, and that's where the punchline will end. And then I'll try to like adjust the words so that it works. You know, I think of is it contractions? So I'm like, should I say should not or shouldn't? You know, and then like I'll sit down at the piano and then I'll just like take that rhythm and turn it into a melody, which is like the easiest part, and then record it.
Yeah. So when you break that down and you use the word punchline, it sounds like you're almost thinking of it as like a comedic piece, like you're coming up with a stand-up set. Is that how you think about the jingles in general? Or is that a way that you think about your music? Do you think about that comedic approach?
Yeah, I think I'm just learning that. Yeah, I think that's how I just write music, because I find I did like a lot of studying that like a lot of the best writers or the best rappers actually have a really good sense of humor. Like you, if you hear them talk in like interviews, they're really funny, and I'm like, why is that? It's because writing comedy is the same thing as writing music. You have to hit it at the right time. You know what I mean? You have to get that reaction at the right time. So I definitely like prioritize comedic timing, you know what I mean, when I'm like writing music.
And it makes sense too, because I think comedy is such a real world insight driven
Mm,
thing,
yeah,
as music can be as well, in the way that you
absolutely.
use it anyway. So that's really, I've never heard anybody talk about it in that way, but I really like that. So is that what role, because this is a very distinct way that you write songs, right? This jingles
Mm.
approach, and even the way that you show people songs. What role do you want your music to have for your listeners? Are you thinking about yourself as like a artist where they should be interacting with you in terms of albums all the time? Or you think about yourself in terms of someone that they should be seeing every day? Because the way that you approach songwriting, it almost and the way that you approach content creation is so um, I call it just modern, because of the way that you're
Yeah.
so authentic and you show yourself so constantly and you're connecting with your audience so directly. Like, how do you view yourself as an artist and your relation to your audience?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've never gotten that before. Me and my managers are definitely like figuring that out. I like the fact that I am kind of like doing a new kind of artistry where it's a mixture of like a content creator as well as an artist. You know what I mean? And because I'm doing something that like I love and it comes naturally to me, and I naturally write short songs even when they're full length, that enables me to put out albums and like mixtapes almost like content creation, so as often, like really really fast, you know what I mean. So I think of myself as just like a musical content creator, you know what I mean, because music is one part of my content, because I also have like, you know, YouTube and things like that. It's just like multiple dimensions and multiple ways that you could experience me as an artist.
Makes a lot of sense. So how did you come up with this? I love your Instagram presence in particular, and the aesthetic plays out into all across YouTube as well, and obviously into obviously the way that your songs sound as well. But how did you come up with that Instagram style that you've now become so well known for?
Yeah, it took a really long time. I've been on Instagram for like 7 years, and like literally like a month and a half ago I had like 2,000 followers. So it's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of just trying things and seeing what works. For a while I was just doing covers. I was kind of like remixing stuff. Um, because I thought that I'm like, people don't really want to hear anything that comes out of somebody like local or new. But when Reels came out, I was like, oh, let me try this. And like, it's short, so I don't have to like put out a whole song. And people started to like it, which felt good, because I'm like, oh, like I'm in a space where people actually like what comes out of me. Like they like it more than like me covering something else or something that they know. So once I did that, it started picking up. I was like, oh, I could like spread this out. You know what I mean? So my model is definitely like reels are like my short entertainment. My posts are like my highlights, and my stories are definitely like I call them FaceTime calls because I'm always like in the camera, and it's like it's me talking to them, and I do like live concerts. So this model has come from just a lot of trial and error, a lot.
Yeah. Oh, of course. And that I think is, thank you for saying that, because I think that's how so much of life is, but yet we only see like the highlights of people and things. And so it's
Yes.
really hard. You only see a point in time. And oftentimes you
Mhm.
only notice people at a point of time of success, and you forget that there's so much that has gone into getting there. That's really great.
100%.
Yeah. And well, it looks like then what's so interesting is you happen to be a person who is built then for this modern era. Because something like Reels plays so well into who you are, I guess, like naturally. And so I guess that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense to me anyway. So did you always think that you should, so was that something that the approach to writing about everyday things, is that something that came about as a result of the changes in the way that you would put yourself out there, like the changes in like Instagram first? Was that where it led to, or was that always things that you had been doing on the side, but you never thought people would ever pay attention to? Was it both?
Mm. No, it was definitely like the reels, because
Hmm.
the thing about it was all my earlier music was I called myself a performance producer, like a Mark Ronson, where he would like write and produce everything and have someone else sing. You know what I mean? But it would still be his song. So that was all my previous music. However, like when COVID hit, like I couldn't really meet up with like my singers the way I wanted to. So I was like, all right, I just gotta suck this up and like sing, even though I hate to sing, throw some pitch correction on her, and then like we'll call it a day. And I'm like, when I'm putting out stuff I'm writing and I'm singing on it, I found it really hard to take myself seriously if I was singing about like love or anything serious. So I was like, okay, how can I do this so like I take this pressure off myself? So I started being like, let me do something funny. Let me do something really relatable so that my voice isn't like the focus of this whole thing. You know what I mean? And it worked. Like it worked itself out. And it's easier for me to get stuff out because I'm like, oh, being funny is like not natural to me. Like that's where I feel most comfortable. You know what I mean? Like that's my icebreaker in everything. So that definitely helped.
I love it. So Tima the producer becomes Tima the artist. That's a
Yeah.
really, and of course you don't have to lose the producer side too, but
Yeah.
that's a really great path ahead. I mean, that's wonderful. So what role does, beyond being a creator, what role does music play in your life?
It plays a massive, massive, massive role. Like, don't ever drive past me and look into the window because I'm having like a personal concert. Like every single time. I literally I've studied it for so long. You know what I mean? Like I went to school for it, but like one thing I really like is live, and like I'm known for just being on my computer and watching live concerts over and over and over again, and like looking at like what made this doing different, what made that different, you know what I mean? And I always did that, and I find that that was helpful for where I am now because like I'm using everything that I used to do. So it's just like a great point of reference for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're so, like we talked about before, you're so clearly authentic and accessible with your fans. Um, what do you think about, how would you describe your following of people, and why do you think it's important to sort of like what do you think it is that people love about you in particular then in the context of who your audience is?
Yeah, I'm still figuring that out because it's still growing, but like
Yeah.
through my lives, like I really love my audience. Like they just named themselves. They're called the teammates. So I'm just like, hey, let's go. But I found that my audience is mostly people who want to be musicians or started but stopped. You know what I mean? And I think the fact that I don't take it too seriously brings them a little bit more comfort. You know what I mean? And it's like, damn, like I started ukulele, but then I stopped because I didn't think I was good enough. And in my life, I'm like, honestly, just do it. Like like it's just music. You know what I mean? Like it brings you joy no matter what. You feel me? So my audience are definitely people who are aspiring musicians, and some of them are actually musicians, but I find most of them are people that are in school and like are doubting themselves and like needed to laugh about their craft for a minute.
Yeah. And I think that the desire to laugh at media in general has been something that people that resonates so well, I think, in this time period. But that makes a lot of sense. And it's so cool that you can show people that you can sort of take the pressure off being a content creator as well. Because I think that, being a musician is a really hard job. And one of the things I respect about you is that it's so hard to put yourself out there. I think, especially for a lot of people, even when they're good at it, or even when they're good at creating music, it's just so hard to authentically put yourself out there and not put yourself out there as you think you should be seen, put yourself out there as you think the world sees you, or like, it's not lead with the intentionality of how you want to be seen, but lead with the intentionality of just trying to figure out who you are. And that, at least from my context as a fan of yours, is just, that's what resonates with me, is where I can see that when you make these songs, like Amazon or something, you're talking about how you're bored at home ordering too much stuff like that. That is, I had that problem too, like, I love that.
We all do.
Yeah. So I'd love to go into, if you don't mind, like each of the songs on the Tima Tape, because first of all, I'm a big fan of Tima Tape. I think it's awesome. And again, I love the use of your multimedia with these as well. Like, I love, and just to start with Amazon, I'd love to hear the backstory of it, but I even love the fact that the video is in your car and you're like you're in traffic. Like, I love it. So what's the story behind Amazon? Because I'd love to go through each of your songs and talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that was one of the first reels I did before things kind of jumped off. And it was actually like a ballad. And I knew that because, going backwards, actually Erikah Badu shared it. And I was like, oh, okay, this is making the Tima Tape. It has her stamp of approval. But I knew all my life that I've always wanted to make a New Jack Swing song, which is like, early 90s, like R&B. Like, I'm like, before I die, I need to make a New Jack Swing song. So I was going through my songs and I'm like, Amazon is perfect for this because it's like on the one. It's like, you don't need, and that's perfect for like, cut. That's perfect for that energy. So then I did that, and I literally, like, even though I listen to New Jack Swing all the time, I literally like dove my head into it and like would just try to listen to one instrument, like the kick or the snare, and you know what I mean, because I want to do it super authentically. I studied a lot of Teddy Riley, who like I love, who's like the creator of it, and I spent a day and it just like took off. I got it together and I was like, whoo, yes. And then I had the hook and I had to write a verse to it. And I just thought of like stuff that I see my mom buy. It's like a blender and a sofa. I'm like, you don't. Come on. Like, you don't need to. Like, calm down. And I just recorded it. I did that whole break thing, which like I absolutely love. I'm so proud of myself for that. It took a while and put it out. And we're here.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I love that too. You're capturing, because maybe that's what makes it such a powerful song. You're capturing such a real world issue in the lyrics, but you've captured this really interesting, I guess, like the musicality to it. Like you said, I mean, it was really more of like putting a ballad together in that style. So it sounds like you nailed both ends, is what makes that such an interesting song. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So is Chivalry dead, Tima? Am I not supposed to hold doors open for people anymore?
Oh, I love that. Oh yeah. No, I guess that's my first controversial issue. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
But it's something that we all think, but we never want to say because that makes us terrible people. You know what I mean? Like, you don't feel like running for the door. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, people are trying to be nice. But we all have also been that person that doesn't really want to hold the door, but you really are the bad person if you don't hold the door. So when I wrote that song, that was the one that blew everything up, because everybody was like, yes, please don't hold the door or pretend you don't see me. Like, right. I'm walking more than 20 feet behind you.
Well, it's so hard. You want to be respectful. You see the person's back there, but then you're right. There's got to be like a societal rule now where we decide what the actual distance is. Like, if you're not within that distance, I'm sorry. I'm not holding the door for you. But if you're close enough and you can just catch it in stride, maybe we leave it open or hold it open. I don't know.
Or just don't have doors. Let's just not have doors.
Yeah, that's it. We'll break down all the barriers. No need.
Exactly.
No need. Well, I love it. So what about, okay, the other question I have is, what did you buy that inspired I Bought It? Because autopay kills us all. But I'm wondering what it was for you that threw you over the edge.
I know exactly what it was. I upgraded my setup, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I needed to, because like honestly that gave me the creativity to do all this. But my setup was like okay. I had like 2 screens. I was kind of working on a laptop, and I didn't feel good that my laptop that I work on at home was also what I would pack up to go and do stuff with. I felt weird about that. So I'm like, I need like a CPU, and like the laptop will be its own thing. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna take this much amount of money and I'm just gonna like upgrade everything. I'm gonna get stands, I'm gonna get speakers, I'm gonna get everything I need. And like I paid for it all at one time, and I'm just like, wow, they really took it out. Like they really okay. And I got it all and I was happy about it. But I was like really like, did you guys really had to take it out? Like I thought this was a joke. Like and I think we've all been there because it's just like, oh, this is real money. Oh, like,
Yeah.
this isn't play money. Like this is crazy. But hey, sometimes you just have to buy it.
I know. Well, it resonated with me so much too, because we all have that thing. Like for me, it was when I bought a car, because that was like the first thing I ever bought that was like a lot of money. And I was like, I mean, I bought a used car. It's not like a super nice car. It's because I'm not a big car guy. I just need to get A to B. I wanted good gas mileage, you know. But then it was the thing where I thought I had this thing, because I've had it for a couple of years now. I had this day when I thought I had paid off the whole car. And so I went into the auto pay on what I thought was a successful day, where I was like, this is the last one. Found I had like 2 more years. And that was where I was like, is this real?
No.
What did I agree to? Yeah.
Are we sure you want to do that? Can we just call it even? Like just one time.
And I'm like, I've had the car for so long. Maybe they'll forget about it. No, it doesn't work.
Yeah. They don't. That's the thing. They never forget to charge you. That's the problem. Like, oh, it's terrible.
Okay. Well then, I mean, I guess I know one of your favorite TV shows now too, because I'm glad you were the one to do this, because I've always been thinking that they needed to have something to codify their love. But what led you to make like the love ballad from Jim to Pam? What's the story there?
I didn't think I was gonna like The Office, right? But my friends kept telling me like, watch, it's totally you. And like I fell in love with it. And when it ended, like, well, I finished it on Netflix, I wanted to cry. I'm like, yo, I feel so invested in all of these people. Like I'm so sad. And I was like, you know what? Jim needs like a love letter to Pam. He just does. Like, and I wanted to make it as like 90s R&B as possible. You know what I mean? I wanted him to be super slick. So I put, as you can see, I put visuals of them on top of it. And I just, as kind of corny as they kind of seem to be, I wanted them to seem as like sultry as possible. And I love it because I'm like, if Jim was in Jodeci, this is exactly what he would say. And like, I hope he sees it one day and sings it.
Yeah, we gotta get Jim to see it.
Yes.
Hell, he might have already. I don't know.
Don't put his name. What's his name? John Krasinski.
John Krasinski. I can never say it right. I was scared to even try.
I'm so happy that I got it. I can't. I don't even know how I know his name.
No, that's awesome. I mean, The Office is something that's highly contentious for me, only insofar as I like it, but I also don't like it. I get a lot of flack because I have a hard time with the incredibly embarrassing stuff. I just get embarrassed. Stuff. Yeah, I just have a hard time because I sit there, like, I cringe up. I'm like, oh, Michael, come on, man.
I love cringe humor. Like, do you know what show you would, like, hate but love? You ever watch Pen 15?
No.
Watch Pen 15. It's on Hulu. It's such a hidden gem. Yeah, okay. It's about it's written by these 2 women, right? And they're starring in it, right? Uh-huh. And it's about being in junior high school in like 2001. So it's all nostalgia of the early 2000s. But the thing about it is these 2 women are in their 30s and they're playing like 12-year-olds. But all the other surrounding actors are actually 12-year-olds. So It's like, yeah, it's all the cringeness. It's like, we've all been here. It's like, there's one episode where they get AIM for the first time and they start chatting with people randomly, and then they say their real name and they get scared, like, oh my God, they're gonna find us. Don't tell my mom. And I'm just like, yo, like, You're hurting my heart. But yeah, watch Pen 15.
Oh
Good
my
show.
God, I'll check it out. AIM. Yeah. Wow. That brings it back.
Yes.
I can still hear the door sound, like the open and
yes.
God. Oh my God. Those were the days though.
Yes.
Simpler times. I love it. Okay. So the one that I really know that there has to be a story behind too is screenshots. I know you caught something. I don't know if you want to tell us what you caught, but
no, I'm that's just how I am. I'm very much like, and I like doing things through text because I don't like being gaslighted. You know what I mean? And it's in anything. And I like the song because even the way I wrote the verse, it can apply to anything. It can apply to a lover. It can apply to your boss when they say they didn't request you off. Like, it can apply to your friend who didn't say something. Like, I hate being gaslit. So I'm just like, you could lie, you could do it, but I'll let you finish. But let me pull something up really quick. That's what I like about screenshots, because I felt this numerous times.
Yeah. And I think in our day and age, it resonates so much because there's like a need for like focusing on facts, I think, is also a nice thing, just to be like,
yes,
I know this to be true. I've seen this and I know it to be true. And there's something just so nice about that feeling of when you can actually know something to be true, I think.
Absolutely.
So who's Gina? Go Gina.
Go Gina. Yes. Do you watch Martin?
No, what's Martin?
Okay, it's a good show.
I gotta write these down. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. It's a classic show from the 90s. Like, and I love Martin. Martin's girlfriend's name is Gina. He's like he's hilarious. He's a goofball, and she's kind of like the one that centers him. And I just wanted like a love letter from him to her, because it's kind of like, I know I'm always getting myself in all these hijinks and you're always here. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was basically it.
Like I said, I mean, anybody who hasn't checked it out yet needs to check it out. The Tima Tape is awesome. And obviously Instagram is so fun. Your Instagram is so fun. So who's inspiring you right now? Who are you listening to right now? I know we sort of touched on in the beginning, but I also know that Erikah Badu has been someone who's sort of recently been someone who's been on your radar as a fan, but also someone that you're clearly a fan of. Is there anybody else that inspires you and that you feel like, because obviously you mentioned some others in talking about the R&B influences that you have, but is there anybody else that influences you just in general?
Definitely. There's this guy, his name is Devin Morrison, and he's big, but he's kind of like chill. Like, he's not, you're going to hear him and hear my influences through him, because he embraces, like, you know, the New Jack Swing sound. And it wasn't until I heard him and his album, like maybe a couple months ago, that like, I was like, oh, I can do this. Like, there is a market for this, because sometimes you feel like, oh, my music sounds too dated, it sounds too old, but here he is, he's successful, and he's successfully making authentic New Jack Swing music. Who else? I really love Teddy Riley, who's like, he's a goat when it comes to production. But yeah, like, and we gotta say Beyonce. We just have to, because her work ethic and her live shows and her artistry in live performance is like unmatched. It's like her and Michael Jackson, their live shows are like amazing. It's an experience.
And there's a whole persona that's just so powerful. Absolutely. But that's great. See, we love getting deeper into the musicians that inspire musicians, because we all have people that inspire us, and we all come from somewhere, right? And for you, I really think what's so cool again is that you have this authentic sort of retro-y sound, but you've made it so modern in its approach, and it's almost more fun because you're also talking about such modern issues on top of that. And I think
I just realized that.
Yeah, like I just think there's just something so clearly there that's so interesting, and I think there's a reason that people are also craving that authenticity. And I think that humor that you instill things with, and you make it so accessible and not in your face, just so like it's like looking at a friend. And so that's why even in talking today, I feel like I know you well because of your persona, which is so cool. But yeah, I mean, so you've done so much recently. You're so young, but you've also just had a bunch of success so far. But what's next for you? Where are you headed? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely want to expand my YouTube channel. I'm already working on another Tima Tape because I'm just a crazy person.
Yes.
And also as soon as this COVID thing is over, like I want to take this on tour. So I'm planning for that too, and like putting together a big live show for it. So, and hopefully television. I wouldn't mind doing that too.
Yeah. Well, you've got the persona for it.
Gracias.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, and we'll drop links in the show notes for everybody to find you if it's not obvious already. Tima likes music. Go check it out. Like, subscribe. They know the business, right?
Yes. Like, comment, subscribe for more.
Yeah. I'm always like, you should actually do it though, people.
Yeah.
It's cliche to say that, but you should still do it.
But like, can you do it? Like, please. Like, that'd be helpful.
The Music That Matters podcast is brought to you by all of us here at Society of Sound Media, where we showcase music that matters. On our website, sosmusicmedia.com, you can find writings on artists and songs that shape our culture. We help you find new music that has new meaning, dive into songs and artists shaping our culture, and also discover other related media to dive deeper into the history, issues, and culture behind songs new and old. This podcast sports new episodes every Monday, and we'll also be posting new articles every Wednesday and Saturday. You can also find us on Instagram at SOS Music Media and FN Good Music, where we post new and engaging content daily. Check us out, and thanks again for listening. Stay chic out there.